dealing with this util. Another kill. Hasib, an aggressive peek, but ill-advised at the end of the day. Does a lot of damage, but not enough to secure the kill. But great job from Mercenaries. They keep pushing. They try to refrag that, and they do successfully. But now Jittery is going to go hard.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is they're not giving up as Doctor exhibits that with his kill onto Sparko. But as you mentioned, Jittery just walks straight in. He gets the kill onto Fatar, but not before he landed one onto Sandy. A 2 versus 2, and Union Gaming still have to take this attacking round. Jittery is DBNO, so this is pretty much all on to beat. MI7 wants to move on forward, but he doesn't need to over-peak this. He's on the defending team, and Mercenaries take the round purely because Union couldn't close it out.
Wow, a great round at the end of it for Mercenaries. Right when I had said Union were turning up the heat, what a kill cam there as well on poor Jittery, crawling around down, but not out, so that pads his KD. And it really came in the retort from Mercenaries. Union Gaming certainly established control of initiation and also office to some degree. They hadn't cleared out Vault completely. They were really heavily contesting. A great shot from EX7 as well through the waiting room door. But Mercenaries, they kept fighting back for everything that came against them. As soon as Hasib was taken down, Fatar peeks the exact same angle to which his teammate had just died. Now, a lot of people, you know, when that happens to you in ranked, people are like, why is he there? And I just killed someone. Why would he do that? It's called a refrag, mate. And Mercenaries did it really well. And they used that momentum, that refrag and the momentum to springboard off the back of that. And it was at a point where Union had actually rotated 2 of their players to the other side of the map to push from Cafe. Because it was like, well, Union, okay, we're in a 5v3. We can afford to chuck 2 players on the other side. Jittery can just go send it from top arcade. It's actually a really good way to utilize your man advantage. But the problem is, by the time those players got there was no man advantage.
Hate that for them. But Mercenaries certainly happy about it. And this time, because they're coming back to Armory, they get to return to their comfortable mute Mozzie that they liked and made work for them particularly effectively. Back in round number 7, this could be the opportunity for Mercenaries to even things out and turn around to Union and say, we are not relinquishing this map as easy as you would like us to. I'm sorry, but that is not how this is going to work. Now, Sandy has been engaged in a lot of these opening engagements quite a bit, and they've usually been relatively early in the round too. So I'm interested to see how he's going to do and what his effect is going to be, because he's also been very efficient at placing the air jabs early too. A lot of his role in this game and in this attack has been in the opening portion of the round.
Now he's looking to take a 1v1 with Doctor. Doctor who, you ask? Well, Dr. Valkyrie ready to take an angle. Sandy now being live droned by a teammate, and he pushes on 4th. Getting aggressive here. He may well find this, but Doctor shuts him down. And a second as well. What is that from the Valkyrie? A 3rd player eager to contest. Beat is pretty late. He's certainly lost the rhythm, but Jittery actually might take this as an excuse to just hit the bomb site. Beat on the roam, but he's nowhere near where the action may take place.
Oh,
and Jittery finds 2 kills on the bomb site. My goodness, things have turned around. A 3v3 once again. But which way will this fall? Sparko's taking control. And now it's all on Mercenaries to retake this plant down. And Union have the bomb site.
Jittery watching on to split as well basically meant no one could come in even if they wanted to. And now they just have complete control of this site. They can work together to hold the angles of ingress that the defenders would have to use to get back in there. Even though there is the man advantage to Mercenaries, are they going to be able to take these fights? Jittery says no. He gets a kill onto Maker, Fatar falling too. And then it was all down to Doctor and he couldn't pull it out. Union Gaming taking Armory and Throne. And once again, this game becomes impossible to read.
But you know, wasn't impossible to read? Mercenaries right there. Jittery, I mean, man loves to just go for the full send. And he did just that. But that risk paid off for him. Union Gaming realized, wait a second, we just lost 2 players upstairs. How many damn roamers do they have? Jittery's like, look, guys, I'm just going to tease. I'm just going to attempt, just going to give it a shot and see whether I can take the whole damn bomb site. Jittery, 15 and 6.
That's
What?
so disgusting.
What is that? And that is more than a 2.0 KD. He cops another 3, and that's a 3.0 KD. Quick maths. And Jittery was certainly the opening there, but the rest of Union followed suit, and for Sparko to get in there and get that diffuser down, and what's more, for Union to win it in the 2 versus 3, numbers disadvantage post-plant, got to commend them for that.
I think also we have to commend Doctor too. He's currently on 8 and 7, so not quite as impressive as, for example, Fatah's 12 and 7 or Jittery's 15 and 6, but Doctor got a significant number of kills and has done a lot of work on this map particularly. And when we look back at Clubhouse, Doctor was the lowest cost at 27%, and he went 3 and 8. He was really, really low for the team, and he seems to have found almost, well, I was going to say a second win, but it's almost like he didn't have the original win in the first place. So he's found a win, and it's been working really well. And even though they couldn't pull through on that last round, the point still stands that he has been a notable member of MercenarieZ, at least on this map.
I do wonder whether it'll be enough. Union have certainly been in tune on these attacks, and match point for them is a scary prospect for MercenarieZ. Keep in mind, Union win this, they'll only need one more map to take the championship and hence qualify for the 6th Invitational 2021. The first time a team from South Asia has ever been to not only a 6th Invitational, but a global final event. And for the first time, we'll have all of, well, Bangladesh, India, and even Sri Lanka represented on the global stage.
It's a pretty insane thing to think about. And knowing that that's on their mind as they play through this, it's also pretty heavy. A great opening kill onto Doctor from Jittery. So 2 of those players we were mentioning. Sandy not far behind, so not quite making it into the first engagement this time, but he's still there to follow up. That does put MercenarieZ at a disadvantage in this fight so far, and it makes them a lot weaker, with Union Gaming having more potential to gain control in this fight. Still holding on to the site pretty heavily are MercenarieZ, with the remaining 3 players having moved all the way down there, knowing how difficult it was for them to regain that control in the post-plant situation last time. Hasib just placing himself, trying to get one of those kills after the utility in split had been cleared out by the Ash.
Question is, will MI7 die to these holes, or will he commit successfully? Bear some fruit in the contest. Vigil comes through with his gadget. Fatah deals, well, he receives a bit of damage. Takes out 2 drones, but not the player on the other side. And well, it's players that Union possess in abundance here on match point in a 5 versus 3. This will have to be a huge task from MercenarieZ to stop this, but Hasib may well have the flank he needs. No, he's forced off. 25 seconds for Union to take this on match point.
Well, there's the sound of the X-Kairos as they try to open up the wall. A mercenary is going to be able to hold back the attack. Under 15 seconds, Sandy comes in, straight through, kills him in the face.
It's gonna happen.
Shoots him in the face.
Whoa.
There's the impact to deny. Beats coming through for Union Gaming, finish it off. And that will be the round and the map to Union. MercenarieZ not quite being able to hold on.
A convincing 7-4 is a damn sight better than the 6-8 loss Union copped against MercenarieZ on Theme Park last time these teams played. Oh, how the times have changed. Jury 16-6. A monster in the server, completely untamed, untethered, and uncontested. Union Gaming are one map away from the 6th Invitational.
Absolute insane prospect. And MercenarieZ still have it on their shoulders to deny that opportunity to them. But Union Gaming probably going to be feeling very confident moving forward into the next map. Let's send this on over to a commercial break and then to our analysts before seeing how the rest pans out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hap and Fluke, my king and queen, join on in. So, 3, 2, and 3. How about we kind of go through things in our third map as we've gone so far 7-4, 7-4, 7-4 in Theme Park with Union Gaming, making it through one map away from 6 Invitational. How big is that?
Is really big.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
The mute curse continues.
I was hit by the mute curse this time. It was very big. I was talking over this graphic. I know it says consulate on the left, but that's a lie. So it's not just me making mistakes, production. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to drag everyone down with me.
Oh my god, wow.
7-4.
Okay.
7-4. Union Gaming. They're one map away. They're almost there. It's theme. It was a good start to kind of be on their defense and stuff like that. So I guess it's seeing where things go from this point onwards.
Oh, and it's not just them being one map away from the SI, it's also them being one map away of knocking out Navi, Cyclops, or Astral, who, according to many, all have a chance still. But, you know, I'm thinking it's Astral, by the way, because how the rules work. But, yeah, like, almost one of those will be losing their spot, and they will be looking at this map right now, thinking, like, please, Mercenaries, show up for our sake. We want to go to the SI, and, well, you cannot let Union Gaming do it. You promised Hasib that you would play your best to make sure that they wouldn't make it. You promised the last time around.
Hasib promised himself, but Theme Park was not the best of exhibitions.
No, and I think that's the thing about it as well, is when you're kind of looking at where they've been strong and where they've been able to pull stuff together, it's really been back and forth between which of these two teams is actually taking the lead and actually taking the forefront. It just seems like they keep having these moments of mistakes, and I think it's most obviously reflected in the fact that the games haven't really been close. Yeah, it's been 7-4s, it's been a team is taking a chunk of rounds at a time, and then there's one back, and then it's a chunk around. It's not really that step for step that we were used to, at least from Union side yesterday. So it's kind of a strange pace that we have right now, and if anything, if we're going the full stretch of the 5th map, it will be an endurance test more than anything between these two teams.
And, you know, one thing that diminishes over time, because we're playing a best of 5, and it's a different environment for a lot of teams that aren't really experienced in and haven't played many in their careers. You know, you tend to see faults in even some of the basics. You saw it in drones near the end of Theme Park from Union, yet somehow still be able to fire back within the round. So I wonder if this pressure is going to start to accumulate a bit too much, you know, spiraling out of control for Mercenaries.
It's tough to say. I think Mercenaries is the team with the least amount of pressure on themselves during this matchup, considering the fact that Union has a SI spot to lose, theoretically. And yes, Mercenaries, they want to prove that they're the best team in the region. However, they're not the ones where everybody's like they're not the ones being watched. They're not the ones that have the opportunity of making it to SI right now. Yes, of course, they're being watched. Like, people in the region, you know, there's a big rivalry going on between all the other countries inside South Asia. But I still think the pressure is on Union Gaming, and they are the ones that had a pretty bad day yesterday. They're the ones that are currently one map away of making it to SI, and they have to make sure that they do not start making the same mistakes right now as we saw during the latter half of the Theme Park game. Like, you got to make sure that those don't creep into your next map, because otherwise we might end ourselves up in a 2-2, and then everything is possible.
Speaking of the next map, let's pull up the pick ban phase yet again on our map bans. We've already gone through, of course, 3 out of our 2 of our maps. We're going through Theme Park. We've got Cafe Dostoevsky afterwards, with Oregon as our decider. Should we go to it? And there definitely is a possibility. And Cafe Dostoevsky picked up by Mercenaries, as you can kind of make out by what we have here on the screen. Consulate went their way. What are the chances that Cafe goes the same too?
I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of look at it as quite a tactical heavy map. You look at it as a place where Union weren't fantastic on it yesterday. It was where most of their fundamentals sort of fell apart, which then bled into Clubhouse a bit. But Cafe was the one that kind of got away. And you have to think, okay, well, they stepped up on Clubhouse. is the step up here going to be one that we see it reflected as well? Are they going to be more aware of what else is going on? Because their awareness of their opponents yesterday was low.
Yeah, I have to agree here. And the thing is, though, I was checking and I was like, why does Union play so good right now, like to Mercenaries compared to yesterday against LTK? And it might be that it's two different kind of teams where LTK, their playstyle to just hide in random corners was punishing the bad drone game of Union a lot more, which you could see basically hindered them winning a lot of these rounds. And maybe Mercenaries is playing a little bit more, traditional. They're holding back a bit more. They're a bit more predictable, considering these two teams have a long rivalry going. They're always in those grand finals together. And maybe that's why they don't get punished as hard right now for that drone work that is not really up to speed. But if Mercenaries start realizing that, they have an opportunity on this map as well. Cafe, it's a map where you can also go for a lot of roams. Think about when you're top 4, you have the opportunity of playing below with C4s, or when you're attacking basement, there's 3 staircases or 2 staircases you have to keep in mind. So like maybe if they play more into that unpredictable kind of game style here, Mercenaries, they should be able to surprise Union.
So actually, a very cool. I asked medics or production, specifically medics, if you guys know who's starting on which side come Cafe Dostoevsky. I assume with Mercenaries picking the map that they would go, Union would pick defense to start off with. Union are attacking.
Okay.
It's strange.
We have
okay.
Because we also just had Union up, Mercenaries up for attack first, didn't we? On the previous
Team Park, indeed, yeah.
It's a couple of strange choices
that's a weird one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about this now. Because it's like, we just got the full veto in front of us, and it's kind of like, well, you sure about that? Because we'd have the same in APAC North, right?
It's like, why? I would love to know, because it's different. It's the thing is, it's different. It goes against the grain.
Fair.
It's not that these are maps like Oregon, where it's cited as being a balanced attacker or defender one for a lot of people's books. It's not like it's maps like Coast, where sometimes it's preferred on the attack. Theme especially is, it's a heavy defender-sided map. 5-1s aren't the most uncommon split on that for it to be a standard split. And for a team to opt to attack first on that is a little bit of like, okay, there's got to be a game there. There's got to be something where you're either more confident in your attack or you're confident that you can shake the defense.
I wonder how much lurking we're going to see on the map, because I briefly mentioned Vigil. We saw Vigil pocketing the Pokeball, the matchup that we had. I've played in a few rounds, but how do you lurk around Cafe in this case? Because L2K, as you were mentioning, Hap, played into all of that with Union. They try to disrupt them as much as humanly possible, but it seems like Mercenaries playing the kind of straight away metagame is not working super well against Union.
I mean, it is still like somewhat close in terms of score counts, not really in the terms of how the matches go. Of course, it's not like 7-1, 7-2 blowouts. So there is still opportunity to get in. I'm not sure what they need to do, be that more disruptive indeed. But the thing is, we saw Union play on this map yesterday, and we saw a lot of freedom of the roamers, able to just rotate up and down the stairs whenever they wanted, really. And not all the time there was a response for that. And that is something that you need to be able to shut down. If you are on that attack, make sure you shut down the roam game early. Otherwise, you will suffer from it. And if you're the defense, well, try and figure out when your roam game is being shut down, and don't try to keep on beating on the same dead horse in that case, and trying to make it work anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously paused.
I want to know. Okay, you know what?
Me to add something to there, and there's not much I can.
I just want to know. I would like to take more time, but our game is almost ready here. So
that's fine.
I'm personally just wondering how is any attacking side, whoever it is playing on it, on both halves, that will deal with the reading, for example. I find this a lot of teams have problems with it. I find roam games really tend to play very well into that. I'm very much wondering how it all goes, because as we've been repeating all day, it might be Union Gaming going to 6 Invitational 2021 off of this next map. Can MercenarieZ take it all the way to Oregon and really give us a best of 5? That is the big question on our mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it might just be over right here, right now. Hap, Fuluk, thank you so much. We'll be back after the break. However, it's time for Cafe Dostoyevsky. Gio, Dev, please take it away, the final potential map.
Thank you so much, Milos. Yeah, this could be it. This could be the map where we find the first ever South Asian team not only going to a global tournament, but going to the 6th Invitational. And James, that is huge. Here on Cafe Dostoyevsky, we could have the answer to that question.
MercenarieZ fates are decided right here, right now. Union Gaming are 1 map away from SI, and the pressure is mounting for both of these teams. It means everything to Union Gaming. But for MercenarieZ, it means almost as much. It's the pride of their region. They thought that coming into today, they would be prepared. But Union Gaming has been 1 step ahead, the OGs. And, well, they're very much on that train. This is a map that it's difficult to say who it favors across the November Major thus far and Stage 2. These teams have both been flawless on Cafe. Now, this is MercenarieZ map pick, and they dealt with Monka S 7-3 yesterday, where the Union have won 2 8-6s against L2K and 1 7-3 against Kira last Major. So both teams flawless. It's difficult to call, Gia.
It's definitely hard, and as the analyst desk spoke about, Union Gaming looked a bit weaker on this map against other teams, but as we've mentioned so far, the story we've been threading this whole way through has been these 2 teams' performance against other teams in the region is not necessarily indicative of what their performance against one another is going to be. It always seems to be a different story when it comes down to Union Gaming versus MercenarieZ. And given how much is relying here on Cafe Dostoyevsky, that unknown and that uncertainty is incredibly unnerving and anxiety-inducing, probably for both of these teams right now.
Well, there's the op veto. Rather than talking about those operators, I'm going to talk about what hasn't been bad. And there's quite a few significant operators. And one of the big ones is an operator that snuck through the veto just consistently this series, which is that big elephant in the room, Wamai. And funnily enough, not taken. It is Kitchen taken first by Mercs, and Wamai perhaps not as useful. Maybe I'll circle back to that later when we get to our bar cocktail and reading defenses. But at least the Valkyrie being banned out will give attacking lineups a bit more flexibility. No need to bring that IQ. And hence, you'll be able to bring a lot more soft breach and explosives as we see that triple threat. Nades on both the Maverick and the Sledge, and of course the explosives from Zafia. Also some hard breach redundancy, which is nice. Maverick and Hibana together. The Sledge is your main soft breacher though, especially on this objective, where attacking teams typically take control of the top 2 floors and start to breach onto the bomb site and find kills from there. But I have a feeling that Maker is going to be roaming, and as such, Union will have to deal with him.
Yeah, there he is upstairs. And I suspect that MercenarieZ are expecting Union Gaming to be going for a kind of freezer approach, given the fact that they have the Kai, they got the Legion and the Mute. So they can really kind of bunker down and prevent that. But actually, as I say that, they're not going to be focusing on that hatch. They're going to open it up instead. And that can maybe facilitate a roam a little better. But it does mean that they will have to have attention on that area just because of how Union could take advantage of it. A first kill onto Jittery, that removes the Maverick, and that means that that Kaid is going to be even more important, as you have to solely rely on the Hibana for your hard breaching, and the Electricals can definitely go against her.
Wow, things are certainly turning up and falling apart now for Union Gaming. Jittery, not only did he have some of the most valuable utility for Union, but also this is the player who popped off for Union on Theme Park, 16-6 as the Ashe main. And while he's playing not quite the Ashe, his value can definitely not be, well, underestimated. at least when he's actually alive, but Mercenaries have given a real fight already. EX7 though, oh, actually loses that fight just barely. A nice quick peek there from MI7 on the other side. And Union now desperately trying to take some ground, but I think it might be a bit late. It's going to have to be a huge task.
Definitely feels that way, only just opening up the red hatch. And EX7's now finding himself injured. Maker can just jump out, gets a beautiful 2K for his efforts, and he can go straight into Bakery. I was wondering if he could get Sandy from behind, but Sandy had the wherewithal to know that he was coming, and that shuts him down. But it's still Sandy all on his own against 3 players of Mercenaries. A decent amount of time remaining, but there's only so much you can do on your own. He's just looking down the corridor. We've got 2 players who are on the side and 1 who is towards coat check. But where you have that rotation means it's available and open for him to make his way back. There could be the crossfire, and now the rotation isn't even being watched anymore, which could just give Mercenaries more control and more room. You can see his own air jab. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to be pushing past it, as Sandy's still trying to hold on to the angles that could potentially be coming in from both above and directly in front of him, and Doctor moving from behind.
It's been a whole minute now since Sandy was left in this 1v3, and Mercenaries are just playing this smartly. This round is effectively over. Sandy's just going to try and bait for picks, but of course Mercenaries aren't feeding him. They're playing this smart. Now, there's no kind of economy or anything to sustain here for Sandy. So, Doctor may as well find the pick. And, well, with that much time left, even if Doctor had died there, he knew his team still would have won. And Mercenaries, it was very slow at the end, but they certainly picked up the pace at the start of that round. 2 very early picks, and Union, well, they scrambled to try and desperately figure something out. But that push in through mining was not to be. That jump out from Maker certainly put a stop to any hopes of Union Gaming coming back in the 3v5. But if you're Union, you just got to write that off and say, guys, whatever, let's go over, attack next bomb site. You know, we lost that in the first 20 seconds of the round. Let's not dwell on it too much.
Well, I want to go back a bit to what you were saying before, and that is now we're on Bar and Cocktail. We may start to feel the effects of those operators that haven't been banned, notably the Goyo and the Wamai, both of whom have made it into the lineup for Mercenaries. Wamai obviously very commonly picked to guard the pixel angle, which is there we go. That's exactly where that Goyo shield is, right there. Not too uncommon to see ADS and Wamai discs put there too to protect it. He can hold on to that area. You also may see a Goyo shield be placed in the backstore area. I don't know where he's put his second one because he has placed both of them. But that, okay, it's right. Okay, it's right there in the cocktail door. Sometimes you do see it placed in backstore with the door, the wall opened up to be soft, and you can have someone playing behind that. But
we've got 4 shields, but 2 haven't been deployed yet. See, Fatara and MI7 still have them in the pocket. You might put them down in backstore, like you're saying. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, he's facing it in the opposite direction, though, actually. I mean, they have already reinforced off one of the backstore walls, but he's going to be facing it towards Cocktail. I suppose that means he can... Unusual. Yeah, he can kind of face the window. Jittery getting the opening kill, kind of making some amends for what happened before, as he was the opening death. Good start for Union Gaming.
It's the Ash, man. Special powers for Jittery when he's got the Ash. Maker on the roam downstairs, just trying to retreat back up. White. Union have a bit of flexibility here. I feel like they were telegraphing potentially going for an east push, which is not super common. I guess you could say default way to attack onto this bomb site is to take control of top red and then under New Hatch, which is where Doctor is. But, well, he doctors Jittery's face right off. Evens up that man count and also removes a lot of very valuable utility from the Union arsenal.
I believe they call it performing a surgery, which Sandy may have done on him in just a second, taking a decent amount of damage from Maker up above. You can see that Union are trying to focus a lot on these windows, and this is aggressive positioning from Maker, watching very closely onto the windows himself. just for anyone who may be below. Sparko clearing out those were my magnets, as you heard. And that means that projectiles can be sent on through.
Most of what's happening here makes it look like Union's going for an East push, especially EX7 here in Reading. The reason you would play either a Bach or a Zafir or Ash in Reading is to try and displace the players in Cocktail, but it seems to have worked because it's enabled Beat to get 1 kill and now Sparko from the repels. This is working quite well now for Union. But still, Fatah has that power position in backstore and the shield to boot, as you said, actually helping to protect him against an east side push. So Mercenaries have actually read into this from the get-go. There are 2 nades left. Beat might be able to destroy that shield.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like maybe they were expecting this. The shield is directly ahead of him, and he has both of the nades, as you say. There's the smoke to try and deter him, but the shield does get dispatched with, and that leaves Fatah significantly less protected. And with Sandy up here on Skylight, he can watch out for him if he decides to back out. Sparko's coming in from behind as well. All these angles being covered. There's a player right in front of him, and he gets rid of him. That's Doctor.
Oh.
Union Gaming have so much room to play with, and that leads the rounds straight into their hands.
Converting that man advantage was critical, and while UG did leave it very, very late in the round, they get the job done at the end of it. I really like that east side push. I do feel like Mercenaries played into it, however. It didn't take much from Union to start to get Mercenaries to start running around on that top floor and exposing themselves to those windows, as was the strategy for Union. Amir Zafir downstairs, EX7. Just making 1 or 2 holes in the floor, not really even contesting, and instead of Mercenaries trying to take that fight with the Zafir through the holes, they just kept running around and were pinched by Beat on the Cocktail windows and Sparko on the white hallway windows. Mercenaries just fell apart. The last shot of hope was that shield in bar backstore, but no, not going to happen when there's still plenty of nades left on Beat, and he cleared that out. And it was just a 4v2 execute. It's just a matter of trying to make sure you can push through and refag at the same time. So good stuff there for Union. I really like that strategy. I do feel like Mercenaries can adapt to it, though, when they eventually do return to bar.
I mean, it seemed like Mercenaries kind of had an idea that that was what was going to happen anyway. I mean, they had a decent amount of their defense that looked like it was prepared for that side of the map. They just didn't overcome it. Well, now they've headed down to Reading, which still requires a decent amount of upstairs defense because you want to have control. As the attackers, you want to be having control, most notably over Cocktail, because you can open up the floor, you can have vertical pressure into the site below, and it also means that you prevent the defenders from having that position available to them should you be in a post-plant situation and should they be wishing to deny a plant as it's going down. It's very easy to do that as a defender if you have free reign directly above the site. So that means that a lot of your defensive utility does get spent on the top floor anyway, because you need to ensure that the attackers have a hard time of taking that space.
Missing hold there, actually. It's not quite what I would usually expect. With the setup in washrooms is the main unusual bit. Good drones here, pre-plays for UG. They're worried about players in the basement, actually, or on the ground floor. With Mirror Band, this setup does get a little bit more difficult for the defense, but I still very much favor this bomb site. I think it's a fantastic bomb site. It's like Bar Cocktail with extras, because even if you lose Bar Cocktail, it's not all over. I can't claim to be the first one to say that. I'm pretty sure someone already said that. It was a Reaper or someone. Batar's the player on site, but Maker's trying to delay as much time as possible. He'll shoot off the X-Kairos. I believe it was muted anyway, indeed. And I believe that air jab will also prevent him rotating back into Pixel.
And so now, you know, you've got a situation where half the round is down, these shields are still standing, the mute jammer hasn't been cleared, Banshees are still up, players of the defending side are still upstairs as well, and Union Gaming have an incredibly limited amount of time to do anything about it. And even then, some of the utility's gone down. Good kill onto Hasib, opens things up, but it doesn't take long for Doctor to respond in kind and brings Sandy down himself. And so, once again, an even man count. There are 2 C4s still available on the defending side if they want to have some kind of denial in play as well. Doctor's watching out onto Skylight. He knows that there's a player up there. He's gonna maybe catch him out, but no, not quite. Beat wins out in that engagement, but we are at the point where we're about 30 seconds remaining. Under a minute, and Union Gaming are still struggling to clear everything that they need. Sparko at some point may have to go in for the plant, knowing that Mercenaries still have such control over the upstairs portion of this map. Jittery is actually in the site. He's bringing down MI7. He can't quite get a second, though, as Fatah comes back around. And now we're in a 2 versus 2. Under 15 seconds remaining, and Sparko's going to have to try and move forward. He's looking through the footholes, but can't get a line of sight onto anyone. He finally gets it onto Fatah, and he can go in 3 seconds down. That's all that's left, and he's still having the opportunity. Is Maker going to be able to get in time? He's not, and now it's planted and down. He does finally get the kill. He has to seek out Sparko, though, so that he's finished off the remaining members of this team. But Sparko's just going to hurry on upstairs, knowing that at some point Maker has to go in for the diffuser. He uses the X-Kairos to open up a hole as he has no other option. But Maker is right there.
Oh no!
He's going to gun him down.
Oh my God!
With the knife, and then he can just go straight into reading and get rid of the diffuser. He hunted him down, and he ensured that Mercenaries took this round.
What an unusual exchange, but Maker with that 1 versus 2 clutch. Well, that's the kind of play that puts the team on your back and gets you into gear. Union Gaming certainly had the advantage there, but Sparko in the 1 versus 1. Minor things did not go his way. I like the idea there for Sparko. He thought, okay, instead of just trying to take a 1v1, I'm going to try and set myself up in an advantageous position to watch the diffuser. And he thought, well, I've got some utility. I can use my X-Kairos to breach the floor. Unfortunately, there are a couple of issues with that. When he does that, firstly, it tells the defender where he is, right? If you hear that X-Kairos on the roof, you know exactly where that player is. He's got to be upstairs. And also, the fuse of the X-Kairos would have also blocked Sparko's hearing somewhat and made it easier for the Jaeger to flank him. Also, destroying that Vulcan shield meant that there was basically nowhere Sparko could be other than in that corner where he was. So it was a fairly advantageous pre-fire for Jaeger. Got a bit messy to the end with the knife, but oh well, whatever gets the job done, right?
I mean, it's Maker. He was always going to chase him down. The guy likes to play aggressive. I mean, what can I say? It was always going to happen. It was... I agree. It was a creative attempt from Sparko because he had limited options. As soon as he started going upstairs, I was thinking, they have not opened up this floor. There aren't lines of sight that he can hold on to. And so the fact that he had any X-Kairos was fortuitous from the perspective of being able to make an attempt. But obviously the attempt comes with its limitations, as you described. Regardless, it was Mercenaries who took that round, and they will be returning back down to Kitchen, which they also took back in round number 1. And they have a fairly wide roam going on here with Maker and MI7, both upstairs on the Vigil and the Mozzie respectively, looking out for any of those pesky attackers who may be making their way in.
Do you remember last time? This Kitchen objective just did not go well for Union. There were 2 really, really fast picks, but we've already passed that time in the... Okay, no, never mind. There is still fast picks. Now, a little bit slower than last time, but that's a good play to take down, especially when you're a roamer and you take down the operator, Nomad, which can prevent you from flanking. So that's a great pick. Spotted out, though. Ooh, actually uses the red ping there. That's going to signal the position. The X7 is just going to go for it. Surely they can hunt down Maker here.
He could be ready to jump down. He's got the ability to do so, but he does take some damage, actually. But he is finally back on the first floor, continuing on the roam. And Sparko might be able to catch him out here. If he can drone him out or even see him directly, X7 as well up on the balcony. But so far, he is still standing as he rotates all the way back down into Freezer and is no longer out on that roam.
Very much done a lot of work there. You look at the drone economy here. EX7 all out, Jittery all out, Sparko all out, Beat all out. The only drone remaining for Union with a minute 15 left is the one that Sandy had already put out in the field. It's a disgusting angle there through the bar with little punch holes. And, well, Union are well and truly falling apart. Still in train as well. Is Doctor on this roam? He's shut down eventually, but this will be a massive scramble, and Mercs are leaning into the fact that there are no drones on Union's side by hiding these little rat corners.
They've just got to attempt to hold on to whatever angles they can. MI7 can just spring out and find a lost EX7. At least it seemed like he was lost. Jittery's got to try and make some kind of attempt on his own. Beats following up, and he runs straight into his death, as do both of them. And Mercenaries hold on to the lead and make it even harder for Union Gaming to see themselves taking their position in SI just yet.
It's been a nice resurgence here from Mercenaries. 3-1 at the head. And, well, I really like their roaming on Kitchen. Those Kitchen defenses are just incredibly convincing, aren't they? But if you look at the other two, right? Bar Cocktail, that was pretty sketchy. And Union ended up taking it with that really nice East push, which picks Mercs apart. And then the following round, Mercenaries only won because of a 1v2 clutch from Maker. So in the grand scheme of things, I feel like Union kind of should be up, or at least even 2-2 right now. But keeping in mind that Kitchen Cooking, which is the inarguably best bomb site for Mercenaries, is simply locked for the rest of this half. So let's humor me, Gio, right?
I'll humor you.
Kitchen Cooking, yeah, that's an easy Mercenaries win. They've already won twice. They're not going to go back. Yeah, that's 2 rounds for them. Bar Cocktail, pretty convincing for Union. So that's for them. Reading Fireplace, let's assume that clutch hadn't gone Maker's way, right? Mm-hmm. And then all Union would have had to do is repeat Bar Cocktail and Reading Fireplace. That you could convince it. You could make an argument here that Union should come off with a 4-2 half, even though that's no longer possible. And I think that gives you an idea of how good Mercenaries have been at kind of clawing away these situations where they probably shouldn't be winning. And that's what I'm going to be looking at in these next 2 rounds.
I mean, Mercenaries already, you can see how evident the differences in their approach to this defense is being compared to round 2. No Wamai, no Goyo. They're not relying on the shields in the same way, as the only one they have is the one from Smoke. Instead, they've got the Maestro, they've got the Legion, they got the Mute. These are more related to information than they are necessarily about soaking up the utility of the attackers. And maybe Union Gaming will go for this B-side push once again. I mean, this is potentially what's going to happen. It looks like a lot of the players are not on the east side, so maybe they'll change things up and they want to try and throw a spanner in the works to prevent Mercenaries from being able to predict what it is they're going to do. Either way, it's going to be different from what we saw before.
What's this run out here for Maker? Just prepping it. May well be exposing Sandy, but actually the first kill goes the way of Union once again. MI7 shut down. My God. Maker tries to retreat off of that teased run out, and he's just shut down. No worries whatsoever for Union. Doctor almost finds a kill, but just doesn't land enough shots. 2 players from UG at the moment on the verge of death. But I don't think Mercenaries are going to be able to secure them.
You can see Doctor's just looking to find whatever is available to him. EX7 has already done pretty well in this round, but he himself is sincerely lacking in health as he's right down to the last 5 of his HP. There's still a decent chunk of time left, and the 3 versus 5 is going to be daunting to Mercenaries. Doctor throws out another one of those goo mines, trying to prevent anyone who may push in from train. But instead of a person, it's going to be a drone that Beat is sending through. He could also find himself being pinched as the angle is held from the other side as well. EX7 is not far away. In fact, he's going to be looking straight in. Brings Doctor down. And on such low health, securing his 3rd kill of the round is pretty impressive there for Union Gaming. A 2 versus 4 makes this look very difficult for Mercenaries right now. Fatar is trying to look down through the slats of the floor, but so far has not found anything, while Hasib still sits upstairs.
What a shame that is for Fatar. He's got the perfect position to try and contest that annoying, pesky EX7 downstairs, but he's now punished, in fact, EX7 with the 4K. One more left for the A's. Can he find it? No, Hasib shuts down that idea, but 3 players left in the diffuser going down. 1v2 now. This is potentially winnable, but this post plant will be nigh impossible. Even with the evil eye, there is just no time at all. And now a 1 versus 2 with a player up on Skylight. Tell him he's dreaming. Union Gaming, a beautiful attack round, all on the back of EX7. And eventually confirmed by his teammates. They go up now. The 3-2 deficit.
Couldn't quite convert it into an ace, but he did it yesterday, so I suppose he's already met his quota for the entire major. A really good round there for Union Gaming, and definitely one that they needed to put their mentality back in a place to believe that this could be their map and this could be their series after waning a little bit for a couple of rounds. And yeah, the changes that MercenarieZ made to their defense just weren't what they needed. It wasn't advantageous to them. Union Gaming took advantage. Oh, EX7 took advantage. And Union Gaming took the round. So now back to reading. This will again be an interesting one because of how it came down to the clutch at the end by Maker. Before, it was all down to Sparko trying to open up the floor directly above the site. Using the X-Kairos, it was all he had available to him, and it made him incredibly easy to read. His positioning, everything about it, Maker came forth and knifed him in the face. So I'm wondering if it will come down to that 1v1 again. It's usually hard to imagine that a clutch situation is going to be recreated, at least exactly. But the strength and the robustness of the defense and how that will change is what my eye is going to be on.
Bit of late setup here, but that's no worries, really. Jittery just droning ahead. Always ever cautious of spawn peaks. He found a kill in the very second round, countering a spawn peak. Actually, Jittery was the opening death to a spawn peak the first round. Ever since, he's been hyper aware. And in fact, he is actually having... I was a spawn peak as an early engagement between 2 gentlemen, one on the inside of the building and one on the outside. Jittery loses a lot of HP for it, Maker not so. UG R&D going for this top-down take. Maker is so eager to contest that Skylight. Takes out a drone and backs on out. Good positions for MercenarieZ, but it's really on Union here to step up and do something.
Well, they have about 2 minutes remaining, so there is still the time. We have, of course, seen a couple of rounds this half so far where Union have been a bit slower in their approach to an attack, especially where a clear is needed because they're not approaching the top site, for example, so they have to clear out those top floors before moving elsewhere, which is exactly the situation that this is. But so far, MercenarieZ are being able to stand strong. Doctor is still present on the pixel angle behind his Goyo shield. And there's the first kill finally onto Jittery, who became significantly weakened earlier on. It'll be Hasib who finishes him off. And Doctor's still standing. The ADS around him being burned off, then sends in the lifeline, but he hasn't been pushed back too far just yet. Finally, the Vulcan shield gets felled, and he moves back to pallets.
It's a lot of util gone, though, especially considering Jittery died without, I believe, using any of his flashes or breaching rounds. So a shame that now Sandy is out and Jittery is dead. And Sparko, who was the only player with flashes left, is also dead. That's a big one for Doctor, doing a lot of work upstairs. And, well, it's unfortunate timing for Beat there, but Maker finds a double. He stepped up massively, and we'll look to EX7 to do the same. Goes into the bomb site. Hasib started the round and he shut it down at the end of it. A flawless defense for MercenarieZ. And that cements for themselves a 4-2 defensive half.
If Union Gaming want to take the series here and now, they need to pull it out on their defense. And you would potentially look at this and say, well, it's Cafe Dostoyevsky. It's a defender-sided map. They now have their chance to pull it back. But we saw on Clubhouse how that wasn't necessarily true for these two teams. It was a bit more on Theme Park, And now here it's just a guessing game to see if that is going to be the case. If you want to judge it purely by that first half, then yeah, you could say defender-sided. Mercenaries took 4 defensive rounds. But Union are still on the back foot because they're the one in the position where they have to do the catching up. And they have to ensure that their defense is so good that Mercenaries don't have the room to take any attacking rounds. And that is currently what the fate of their SI chances rely on. Now, even if they do lose this map, there's still Oregon after this. You still go to that 5th map. But that's really pushing it. That's leaving a lot of uncertainty and no room for error. And so Union Gaming have got to cut that right now.
There's also something to be said for momentum. Union Gaming, well, they don't quite have it after that half. They certainly won't have it if they lose this map and have to settle this on map number 5. There's no doubt that Mercenaries would be in the advantage if that was to happen. Union Gaming might have won the August Major, but they are no means favorites here against Mercenaries, who have beat them in 4 out of 5 the last maps that these two teams have played, excluding today, of course. Mercenaries, while they don't have a chance at SI, they still want this just as bad. It means a lot. In fact, I had a quite beautiful conversation with MI7 where I felt like his passion just like palpably seeped out of his words. He said, "It's a dream of every Siege player to play on the biggest stage, and I would love to see us stand in front of all the talent in the world, and it would mean the world to us to compete." Really moving stuff.
Oh, I'm gonna shed a tear. No, I mean it's totally true. It means a lot. You know, it's often discussed how you win this much money or whatever, all these different things that you get from winning various tournaments, but it always comes down to the fact that you get the opportunity to play at SI. That's what everyone wants when they compete in these leagues, in the majors, in the finals, whatever it may be. The most important thing is the chance to become world champion. And that is what is being directly fought for in this game right here. And Mercenaries... Oh, go on.
I was just saying, and while there is, yes, pride for South Asia as a whole, right? There's also national pride, which is divided a bit more than that. Keep in mind, Union Gaming, they have 2 Bangladeshi players and 3 Indian players, plus the org itself is Sri Lankan. Whereas Mercenaries, 3 Bangladeshi players and 2 Pakistani players. If Union go to SI, yes, it represents the whole of South Asia, but not so much Pakistan. And I'm sure Doctor and Maker, they want to take this win to show that Pakistan has what it takes to fight in South Asia and be a dominating force.
Absolutely no doubt. And this will be where we find out, potentially. MI7 opening things up. A kill onto Sparko, removes the Kaid. He's above, playing the butt. A little bit rarely not with the C8. Now, that nade gets eaten straight up, but a beautiful explosion from Sandy sends MI7 and Doctor straight to their graves. Not what Mercenaries were hoping for, nor potentially expecting. And that ensures the Union Gaming's defense is ever stronger here. Qatar, a little bit nervous to move on in on his own and needs the support from the rest of his team. Maker isn't too far away on the brown stairs, but trying to find an angle for himself, and Fatara is feeling the pressure. Sandy's gone down not too far away, but he doesn't necessarily know that, and these angles are being held from the other members of Union Gaming. He can indeed. There's the attempt at the flood. He jumps straight in and gets rid of it, denying that right out. And Union Gaming show what they can do on the defense.
An explosive late execute. With my heart in my mouth, I just waited to see which way that would go. Union desperately trying to come back from that 2K Nitro just a couple seconds prior. And Jittery, the absolute patience that he had. Not characteristic of the Jittery we've been talking about, is it? This player who we know as the Ashe and the Jaeger main embodies the caricature that those operators represent, but he had the patience when it was needed. He didn't try to take the fights. The only thing that mattered was that that diffuser did not get planted. And Mercenaries, well, they're on the back seat now, and Union have gotten back in the game.
I love it when a round like that happens. It just fills your veins with excitement and exhilaration. And I'm sure that's how Union Gaming are feeling as well.
Oh,
I mentioned
you've got to be
earlier
pumped
on.
after that round, right?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier on. I don't even remember which of these two teams it was about, but where I said after that round, they will be feeling it. They will be feeling good. And that right there was one of those rounds.
No doubt in my mind. But that was only the first defense here for Union, and let's be honest, that got very close. The first kill actually went the way of Mercenaries. Sparko got taken down. And the map clear was pretty effective. They had it within, what, 2 minutes or so, and they got to work pretty well on that vertical. Oh, unfortunately, I have a sound bug. Means I have to turn into not Daft Dev Martyr.
Mm-hmm.
I think typically we rehost after the round is gone, so we'll likely play this one out. Just waiting on the admins to see what the go is, but let's continue as if we're continuing. And, well, it's some presence upstairs, but of course this is a fireplace and reading room defense. And we are indeed having a rehost. So you get to see our faces.
Allow them to be able to hear. We stand being able to hear in our video games. So
yeah, no, I think it's a valid thing. You want them to be able to hear. It's important. So guys, we're just having a quick rehost. We'll get everyone back in the server. It won't take but a few minutes. But as it stands, Mercenaries are up 4-3, and we're at the reading bomb site for Union. And the point I was trying to make is, yeah, Union won that, and it was pretty spectacular at the end, but it was pretty close. And keep in mind that Union have to win at least 4 defense rounds here in this half. Otherwise, we're going to Oregon, which is the decider map, map 5 in the grand final, and Mercenaries surely will have the momentum at that point. So Union really need to get a serious crack on.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably hating the fact that it's this major, not the last one where it's as close as it's being. Because even though in order to acquire the SI points that they currently have anyway, they still would have had to have won the last major. But right now is where you know how close you are. You know that it's possible. It's directly in your sights. And let's not forget that if Union Gaming do lose, it's not just that they lose the spot at SI. It's that you are also handing a spot over to MIBR all the way from, Brazil. So there is another team elsewhere who is baiting their breath on this series, and you don't want to be handing them a free victory.
Yeah, I remember seeing some funny comments the other day, an interaction on Twitter between the Giants Twitter account and the G2 Twitter account. Because Giants knocking out Xavier actually qualified G2 for the 6 Invitational. So it was a pretty cute exchange. I love it when the brands
just
get
here's the $20.
Yeah, I think there was
Don't spend it all at once.
Exactly. Pretty sure it was something along those lines. So yeah, I'm sure that a lot of Brazilian fans are rooting for Mercenaries. They've got some extra fans on loan. But another way to look at this is if Mercenaries win, then it's a great story for the subdivision of South Asia, because it means that a new tide is rising. Union Gaming has a lot of pedigree, and they've been a team that's been dominant force within the region for a very long time. And Mercenaries, while they have had a lot of good results against Union, they've never won anything this big against them. And they're still a relatively new team. Like at the time of the August major, they were only 1 or 2 months together. On the flip side, if Union win, it means we get to see South Asia represented at a global event for the first time ever. And if not, well, then we're going to have to wait a bit longer for that to happen.
I just find it crazy, the idea that we could be having a team from essentially a brand new region being represented on the biggest stage, while other teams that have been behemoths across the world in what they've achieved in Siege won't have that chance. I mean, if Union get in, if they win this series, Na'Vi are out. Na'Vi, the ex-Pro League champions who were at SI this year as well and have made it into the EU finals, won't even get a look in. at performing on that stage and trying their hand at being champions again. But these guys will, and that's cool as hell. I think that's awesome, and this could be the chance that they have to do that.
Yeah, well, if you want to watch the EU finals, then go and watch the EU finals. But if you want to see a global competition, then we need teams from all over the world to have that. And yeah, there is an argument that, South Asia is a newer region, so we can't expect them to perform as well as a team like Na'Vi, and therefore they don't deserve their spot. Mate, if they earned SI's points, they deserve their spot. This year has been very unorthodox with how things have panned out, and I don't think anyone can be too critical. And if a team like Union Gaming manages to go to SI, that'll be bloody amazing. So all power to them. That said, if they can't beat Mercenaries, then they clearly don't deserve that spot, and they clearly are not the best in their region. And so I think that whichever way this goes, everyone should just accept the result and what it means.
Oh, I mean, of course, it's going to go one way or the other. And I think the most fun thing about, every year when you're trying to figure out who it is who's going to qualify into going to these huge events, it's not about being upset about who ends up going or not going or whatever. It's about thinking of the potential of what that means for, new champions to arise and new storylines and unexpected things. There would be plenty of people, and there were plenty of people who didn't think Space Station Gaming could do it this year. Plenty of people who thought Canadian had his chance to redeem himself and that chance had been over. And you know what happened? They took the hammer home. And so, while, for some people, they may say, well, a team like Union Gaming who are in a new region, they're not going to be able to do that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the fact that there's the opportunity for them to go there and compete against teams who they otherwise would never have had the opportunity to do that against until this new format came in and until their region was being developed and taken seriously and risen up and empowered, that's awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool. There are always going to be amazing teams from every single region in Rainbow Six. That's one of the things that we are absolutely spoiled with. Every single region just shows so much. So there will always be an ebb and flow of which talent make it into the Six Invitational. And knowing that it's never going to be the same year on year, every year is not going to give you the same story, that is one of the best and most satisfying things about it.
Yeah, I actually really love the SI point system. Of course, we're not seeing it in its full-fledged manner. Typically, teams would get SI points from the positioning in the majors, which would be a global event, right? So in theory, you could have, for example, only one APAC team or only one EU team qualify if they perform, those teams from those regions performed really poorly in the majors. But we have to make allowances for the fact that simply cannot happen this year. And one of the things I really love about the point system over the old systems is the old systems really bias teams that could afford to go to, for example, the DreamHack events would always have a spot up for grabs. All these minors, which were all in the Northern Hemisphere, and it would cost $4,000 a player to fly someone from Australia, for example.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can hear the Australian in you, bleeding and hurting.
So, I mean, whether or not this, eventually, once we get to see the SI points in its full intended format, where you only get points for your performance in the major, whether that means that teams from one region or another are lesser represented, that's okay, because that'll be merit-based. But at the moment, you can't just assume that one region is more valuable than the other. And I think it's fantastic that we get to embrace this global environment, because everyone, especially right now, when we don't have global competition in Rainbow Six, the last thing you should be asking for is less diversity in our global competition, right? And one of the things I think is awesome is the fact that there are literally billions of people who live in South Asia. It is one of the most populous places in the entire world, and we should welcome them with open arms. And in fact, I wish that we had more representation in general of people from South Asia. I've been we've all been talking to the experts on this region, because we're experts, right? But we haven't been following South Asia as closely as people from South Asia have. So I want to credit to all of the people who have helped sustain this community and build it to where it is today, because it didn't just happen overnight where Ubisoft just yeah, okay, let's introduce South Asia. This community has been pioneered by all kinds of hardworking people who have been doing it for just about no reward for a very, very long time.
No, I mean, I think it's freaking awesome. And it's one of those situations where, as I say, we both said, whether Union make it into SI or not, the unfolding of that narrative is part of the story that's exciting to see. Right? It's not just about like, oh, this is only okay if they make it. No, absolutely not. The fact is the competition is there, and the competition is as riveting and thriving as we're seeing. And obviously, once this rehost is finished with, then we will get to see the rest of that unfold and actually see which direction that goes. Because on the one hand, you've got a team who's finally representing their region on a global stage for the first ever time. On the other hand, you've got proof of just how competitive this region is because their rivals has come and snatched that opportunity away from them. I don't think I would be disappointed with either of those outcomes. Now, evidently, if you're a fan of one of these teams or the other, you're going to have a bias and a vested interest in one of those outcomes. But as someone, as just a spectator, as a commentator, as someone who is just watching this and enjoying seeing the story write itself, I think both ends of that story bring something really fantastic.
Very much so. I think that we've provided a lot of context for why this is important for both of these teams. And to get back into it, right? If we review the series as we've had it so far, we've had basically a trading of maps, and the teams have actually taken their own maps. If that trend continues, this should be a Mercenaries victory. And while that is currently indicated on the scoreline, we have to take into account that it is UG who are on the defense and inherently have the advantage because of that. It's been pretty close so far, actually. In fact, it's all been 7-4s. I just realized 7-4, 7-4, 7-4. Does that mean this is going to be another 7-4? I don't know, but maybe I should turn my attention to Oregon and have a look. I'm going to do my stats. If we get to Oregon, it's a really good map for Mercenaries. That does scare me a bit. But if you look at the last two times these teams played it against each other, oh no, actually, Mercenaries won both of those times. That's pretty scary for Union. Yeah, I'm just going to lean into that even more. Like, Union won it in the August major, right? But let's be honest, Mercenaries were a 2-month-old team at that point, and Union Gaming clean swept the series. Clearly, they came into that feeling good, and Mercenaries, bit of a flop. It happens. No offense, Knights. Just going to throw that in there for OC fans. But if Union lose this map, I don't have a lot of faith in them for Oregon. If you look at the last two times they played Mercenaries, there were 4-7 losses. And Mercenaries are very much good enough to take this series. The question is, do they have it to take Cafe? Because that's the first step.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, the last time Mercenaries lost Oregon was in the August major.
Yeah.
In the grand finals against Union. That's the last time they lost. They've gone 4-0 since. 2 of those have been in the South Asian Nationals, both the grand final and the semi-finals when they played Union as well. They won both of those times. So yeah, I think it is fair to expect that Oregon would be lent very much towards Mercenaries, which means that the pressure is so on Union Gaming right now, who are still currently on the back foot. They've taken 3 rounds here on Cafe Dostoyevsky. Mercenaries have taken 4. So as has been a pretty consistent pattern so far, there hasn't been a huge deficit between the two scorelines. The round differential is not massive at this point in the game. It's still Union who are behind. It's still their game to lose. It's still for them to have to put in that work to get not just on par, but one step ahead.
And in my opinion, Mercenaries actually have a minute advantage coming out of this rehearse, as they were on the attack and they would have seen Union Gaming set up in the brief moments that we had at the start of the action phase before we rehosted. To my expectation, as is commonly the rule, all operators will be locked in as they were, and that means that Union Gaming are locked into like the same defensive strategy. They can't really flex too much within that. They're doing a reading defense. They're going to have Maestro, Jaeger, Mute, Smoke, and Mozzie, so they're leaning into that kind of information denial setup. But you can't really deny the info when that round has already been like half played out. And I mean, technically the stream, I guess, is already caught up by now. So I really feel like Mercenaries have an inherent advantage because they could have spent the last 5 or however many minutes it's been discussing how they're going to deal with that Union Gaming defense. which makes me a bit worried for UG, especially considering that, yeah, they're at a deficit. They're on their defense, but they need to crack on and get 4 defense wins in this half. Otherwise, they lose the map. They head to Oregon, and we favor Mercenaries for that. So I'm starting to get a bit concerned.
It feels like, there was so much confidence and so much faith at the beginning, and
Nope.
it's just these two teams now, whenever they come up against each other, it just always, you can never predict how it is going to go. You just never can. And we have been trying throughout the course of this series, even round by round. There have been rounds where we're like, oh, well, this team has the disadvantage, so it's probably them who are going to lose. And then the other one will just come straight through and prove us completely wrong. So even at this point, it is impossible to predict. For those of us who are just joining and just wondering what's going on, we had a sound bug. We've been waiting to rehost. We're just getting that done now. We are very, very close. We are nearly there. But we are on Cafe Dostoevsky currently, looking to head into round number 8. At the end of the half, we had a 4-2 split towards Mercenaries, who started off on defense. Might not sound too uncommon to many of you who are not as familiar with this region or these teams, but these teams typically do better on attack. So it's been interesting to see how that's been going, and whether Union Gaming are going to be able to scrape it back.
Especially because Union only won that last round because of a clutch. I would call it a semi-clutch, right? It was like a 3v3 execute. Plant was going down, and Jittery jumps over the counter and denies it. I would call that a semi-clutch. Union don't have. They haven't given me confidence. That's it. They haven't given me confidence, and that's why I'm starting to get concerned. The one thing I will say is there's been some bloody amazing plays from both sides. The talent that these teams have is insane. I do feel like a lot of those highlight players, however, are on Union, which is funny because they're technically losing the series right now. So, they're one map up in the series, right? But they're losing the map. So while I would love to talk all day about a player like Jittery or EX7, who are players who have, Jittery, 16-6 on Theme Park, absolutely gunning. EX7 almost got an ace earlier on Cafe and got an ace yesterday, I believe. Mercenaries have looked like a really, really consistent team. And one player that I really want to look at as well is Fatah on the support player. In fact, the supports on both teams have really stood out to me. And not only in the supportive department, but also in terms of actually getting kills on the board too. It's a shame that hasn't so much manifested this map as of yet, so much as it did on Consulate and Clubhouse in particular, I'm thinking. So I'm hoping that we can see them start to come to fruition, because I feel like the later this night goes, the more it starts to slip into a bit of a frag fest.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. You mentioned Jittery and EX7 in the way that you do. It's almost reminiscent of when we go back to Clubhouse, how I felt about players like Maker and Hasib, who are big playmakers, and they were doing that. But Mercenaries weren't necessarily capitalizing on that at the points that you would necessarily expect. And it kind of feels like that at times here, where it's like you have these big playmakers on the side of Union that haven't necessarily been exploited and followed up upon, and it's not necessarily turned into a win.
Yeah. It's difficult to call it either way at this point. I think that we can say with confidence, the only thing we can say with confidence is we don't have confidence. But did the map just start? Do my ears
I can hear it. I can hear it. Please. I don't know.
I'm looking at the clean feed. It started. The map has started. But we're confirming that everything's all G, guys.
All G.
Because we've had some players that have struggled with some issues. My heart goes out to the players. Sandy earlier today almost had to sub out, as he did yesterday. And there's been some pretty horrible stuff in terms of natural disasters going on in the area as well. So, I hope everyone out there is doing okay. It looks like our players are all sorted, but we'll be getting to the game before too long. Here we go, Gio! We're back!
It's a game! Alright. This is where we both take a moment to stand up and move our stuff and not sit down anymore. I'm
actually doing the opposite. I was standing that whole time, and now I'm moving to sit down.
Oh, well, okay. Whatever, ruin my moment then. Either way, we are back into the game. Now, both of these teams, despite that being a technical timeout, will have been able to also use it somewhat as a tactical timeout. So we could have some more refined approaches coming through from either side, and that's most importantly going to be pertinent on Union Gaming's end, given how much they have to lose if they are not to take this series, and how much they do not want to be forced to head into Oregon.
These teams will pull out all the stops right here for a place. The 6th Invitational for Union. And a place to finally turn the tide in South Asia for Mercenaries. Wasting absolutely no time getting to the roof. This is a reading bomb site defense. The drones come out in droves, but of course, there's a lot of util to contest with. I think they accidentally shot that own drone. I don't think that was Jittery who did that one. The Mozzie Pest comes through, and the drones drop like flies. Already, MI7 and Fatah, clearly the two primary droners are completely out. We'll need to see this Yana leverage in order for Mercs to have enough info to really set out, and that's indeed what happens. The Gemini drops the hatch and starts to clear the map.
EX7 not too far away. He's not shielded by a shield. Remember, this isn't a bar defense. This is reading. So a lot of that utility will be elsewhere. He was able to get rid of the Gemini. MI7 just looking down through the hole. Oftentimes those can be opened up to throw up C4s. Especially if you want to throw them in towards Cigar as the players are coming in through. But they've made it through safely regardless. Jittery is directly below and will take a tiny bit of damage. And he's going to try and shoot up through the ceiling, but instead decides to retreat as the floor above gets opened up.
Good progress thus far. But in a 5v5, oh, not so much. Jittery. And that's the diffuser, no less. What was that angle? Surely a long one. Maybe from inside the fireplace. That's an impactful kill, absolutely no doubt about it. Fatah goes down. That's just smokes. That's your support player. Mercs will now have to rotate who holds that diffuser and who intends to plant. But first, they'll have to get it back. Ooh. Jittery finally gets refragged, but my God, he was worth more than he could have asked for. Mercer is in a 3 versus 4. Things are looking desperate.
You know, it'll be harder for them on this attack now, especially as the diffuser is still yet to be collected. Sparko downstairs in relative safety of code check. He can check his cameras without really being pressured, and also potentially have the chance to flank or catch someone out from behind. It'll be Sandy the next to go down, though, as Maker gets that kill. And now he's holding on, just dropping down into Laundry and ready to sneak on forward. But 2 kills come in from Mercenaries. This could finally fall in their favor. Doctor's going to go in for the plant, and once again, it's just Sparko on his own.
Oh,
he has
no.
the Evil Eye, though, but it wasn't enough. The diffuser was still placed, and now this one speed has to try and run all the way back upstairs into the loving embrace of 3 attacking players, knowing he'll have to basically kill them all if he is to have an opportunity here. It doesn't. His blood gets sprayed across the wall behind him, and in a turn of fate, Mercenaries take the round.
A turn of fate? Well, that's one way to put it. Let me give you an abridged version of that round. All right, round started, and Jittery got 2 kills. And then Mercenaries got 5 kills. That was what happened in that round.
Sometimes
the only kills that Union found that entire round was just that early 2K from Jittery. From that point, Mercenaries pulled off a 3 versus 5. And look, there were a lot of question marks for me. Lastly, I mean, it's surely hectic in the Union comms because I don't know why Sparko didn't have info on where that player was planting. He had an Evil Eye directly next to it. And I mean, even if it wasn't facing the right directions, his teammates could have called that player was planting based on a sound cue. And then Sparko could have gotten on the Evil Eye and denied the plant. Of course, it didn't happen that way. He did that far too late. Mercenaries just timed that so well. 18 seconds left, and they went for broke. Dropping down the Laundry hatch for Maker as well was a great play. And with Sparko downstairs, it's great for him to be safe and snug down there, but only if he can actually deny the plant, which he couldn't. Now, UG, will retry that bomb site and hopefully net some more success.
And given that it looked like it was kind of falling into their favor for a decent amount at the start of that round, I can imagine how they could, you know, feel confident that they can recreate that, but can continue the momentum forward. That said, Mercenaries will also likely be riding off the back of their own confidence. I think Sparko had a decent idea, trying to keep safe and put himself in a position where he could do the denial, but he didn't have access or didn't try to look at his cams until it was too late. So Mercenaries still got the plant down, even though that utility was well positioned to be able to deal with it. That's something that Union Gaming will have to change if they decide to go for something similar this time.
For Mercs, it looks very, very similar thus far, except for the fact that they haven't lost 5 drones yet, which is always nice. Last time, 5 drones. That's half of the info gathering, aside from the Yana Geminis, which is actually being omitted this round so that Hasib can bring the Nomad. And there's the first pick, Jittery once again, but we've seen, doesn't always mean the round is decided as of yet. My 7 goes down very early. Jittery is such a nuisance on this top floor.
Yeah, he's really proven himself to be a nuisance. Hasib narrowly avoids what could have been a potential death, and Jittery actually takes a lot of damage as well. He doesn't want to be brought down just yet, but he is. Maker gets that kill, and now things are evened out as he moves on into Piano and ready to push forward.
The Buck being the only operator that was lost is really only detrimental if it comes down to trying to hunt those players on site through the floor. But I don't think that's the thing I'm most worried about. For Mercenaries at the moment, it's trying to fight for that top floor control in the first place, and that means destroying this shield. C4 comes through. That's actually surely going to destroy the Pest. So that's actually pretty good for Mercenaries. That C4 was way too premature and fell short. Hasib's got a great position now. Doctor as well. This is actually a full push on down in through train. This is desperate. It might work though.
Investing the Salmas to open up onto the dining wall either side of the fireplace. Union Gaming are trying to position themselves well, but Sandy won't be able to as Fatah gets that kill. Sparko is nearby this time. He's not all the way off site elsewhere on the other side of the map, but the plant is going to be attempted.
The Evil Eye.
Slightly, yeah, well, I was going to say a slightly unorthodox position, but because of the Evil Eye, it makes it so much harder. Another kill onto Union Gaming. This could open up another opportunity for Mercenaries. You have 20 seconds still to play with. But Sparko wants to have the opportunity to look at his Evil Eyes. Fatah's going for another try. Sparko coming down. This is all on beat, but he can't get the necessary kill before the plant is made. And Mercenaries, once again, with a plant, with a win, they take themselves to match point.
And what a way to do it as well. They didn't even fully take the top floor. They just focused on train. They telegraphed so early on that that is where they were going to execute. In through train onto fireplace. Great usage of the Selmas to enable a breach without funneling in through that fireplace. And while they did go for that initial plant, 40 seconds left on the clock, that Evil Eye put a stop to that. But swiftly dealt with from Doctor. The plant eventually came down. Started about 25 seconds left. And Sparko was taken out. He felt helpless that his Evil Eye was dispatched with. And unfortunately, Beat ended up dying and allowing the plant to go down with 1 gas still in his pocket. Now, they knew exactly where that plant was going down. He could have just pre-gassed that. But perhaps they were doubtful of where that plant was actually hitting because of the smoke coverage from Fatah. So overall, a good round from Mercenaries, and it feels like things are just slipping away from Union. They're looking a lot more disjointed. Jittery is going off and getting some kills and dying at the start of the round, and the rest of Union are just falling apart in the latter half. Mercenaries now take match point, and, well, Gio, they are 1 round off of taking us to Oregon, which we think should favor them. Union need to step it up right now if they want to hope to go to SI.
I'm getting very similar vibes here to what I got when we went to Consulate, where Union Gaming have only rotated between 2 maps on their defense. Given what we saw happen on Kitchen in round 7, I don't have enough confidence to fully say this could be their round. Even though they won round 7, it was because of Jittery's clutch. His launch over the side of the counter to deny the plant that worked. It wasn't a definitive or a definite or a completely conclusive win. And Union Gaming evidently don't feel comfortable enough going to a different site instead. They don't want to go and play on Bar and Cocktail. So they are sticking to Kitchen and Reading, and I don't blame them for not wanting to go to Mining. So they are investing in the idea that Kitchen will work. And yeah, they won it before, but it was not a win that would lead me to believe they can always recreate it.
And you know what's more than that, Chio, is it doesn't matter. If Union win this round, that's fine for Mercs. I mean, Union are going to have to go up and win Bar and win Reading. Like, there are no mistakes from here on out. The only way that Union take Cafe is if they go all the way every single round from here on out to take us to overtime. And I might add, that overtime has Union starting on defense, which has proven to be a struggle for them.
Not good. They know that the likelihood is they will be heading to Oregon unless they can pull this out. Just picking up the Claymore there. Mercenaries probably aren't feeling too phased or concerned. Just working on opening up the floor above the site. That should give the opportunity to pressure down. As so far, Buck is relatively unimpeded and hasn't been stopped. He does take some damage, but not enough to end his life, and there's a Claymore kill to kick things off. That's one way to get the opening kill, I suppose. Not good for Union Gaming.
The X7's been asleep at the wheel this game. Keep in mind the stats on screen for kills and deaths are not representative of the full game because we had that rehost or two or a million. Maker pushing down the red stairs.
4-0.
Yeah. Well, certainly since the rehost, that tells you how good Mercenaries have been, how dominant they've been in the last couple of rounds. And Mercenaries, what is this? Maker is on the verge of the bomb site. Sparko finds one, finds two, but the retaliation comes forth. A 3v2 now for Mercenaries on match points. Sandy just around the corner, but Maker goes massive. Shut down. A double for Sandy. It's all on Hasib to close the map. Can Sandy clutch it? Or will the pre-fire get the shots? Mercenaries take map number 4. Geo, we need every single stretch of this marathon to settle it. We're going to Oregon.
What back in August was completed in 3 maps here in November is going to go to all 5, and Union Gaming see their chances of making it to the 6th Invitational slowly slip away from them. Even though we had that rehost in the middle, and so these statistics are not necessarily representative, what we can tell you is Cafe Dostoevsky was certainly a backwards and forwards. It was certainly a surprise, and it certainly set up the expectation for Union Gaming that maybe wasn't quite the same as it was at the start.
This is a massive, massive blow to Union. Mercenaries, surely it's so close that they can taste it. The most convincing map we've had all series is Cafe, a 7-3 with some incredibly strong attacks, as has been the nature of Mercenaries tonight. Oregon is next up, and I feel like Union, it's their time on the chopping block. Milosh, over to you guys. We'll see what you guys reckon after the break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hap Fluke on the analyst desk yet again, as Gio was saying, Union Gaming so close, yet so far from the SI 2021 slot. Oregon is all that stands in the way. You know what? It felt like that cafe map didn't really favor Union so much.
As I kind of said and saw...
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's just been like... Each map is falling one way or the other. I wouldn't say there's really been, out of the 4 we've seen so far, a map that has kind of been a bitter fight all the way through. Sure, they're able to pull a couple of rounds, but it's the least that either team's been able to do so far. It's just Maker popping off, sure, Hasib too, but you're looking at each map being each team's. There's been no real attempt in terms of actually pushing each other to the limit and trying to steal the opponent's maps. It's all boiled down to this end one.
It is hard to say. Both these teams seem to be winning their own maps, which is something that is unusual to see, I guess, because we do often see the maps being traded away due to the side favoriness of things. Doesn't seem to be the case here, however, and well, that leaves us up to that last final map. And then my question will be, what will happen in this game? Because, like, it's no one's map. Are we going to maximum OT and then somehow end up in like draw traded rounds every single time because the universe cannot decide who would win this one? I don't know.
We would keep going. We'd just be adding maps until the end of days. So we're just gonna have to deal with it as is. I gotta say, maybe the pressure is really starting to get to Union Gaming on here. Now, Oregon is our final map in this best of 5 series, and that's where it all ends, by the way. We're in South Asia. Tomorrow we'll be going through Oceania, and of course, come Sunday, it'll be the APAC North final. I know a lot of people are looking forward to our last 2 days as well as today, that's for sure. Oregon, our decider, and MercenarieZ are starting on the attack. Union picking up the defense, given the situation. And should we go to overtime, just an extra slot, MercenarieZ will be starting off on the defense. So things are laid out, given everything that's been seen so far and kind of shown for both of these teams. MercenarieZ starting an attack. How does that favor them? What do they need to deal with probably on the defense from Union Gaming? There's a lot of pressure. You got to deal with it somehow.
There's a lot of pressure. There's multiple operators that jump to mind they will have to deal with on that attack. For example, a Clash is an operator we often see on that basement to come down, which is really oppressive and hard to deal with. Now, we did, however, see that Union, when they play Clash, doesn't always go as well. Clubhouse was a good example of that yesterday. But it's definitely going to be one of those operators that will most likely be brought out together with a bunch of shields.
Oregon is one of those. Oregon's an inevitability. Oregon is, it's in every single setup. It's always there. It's inevitable. It's like the fat cat that will slowly and steadily waddle its way towards the food. It's always going to get there at the end, whether we get there quickly or slowly or not. And I think that's the same with your attacks and your defenses. There is a way to string this colorful analogy towards it. It can be one of those maps where if a team is slow and if a team isn't paying attention, it can very quickly fall out of you. There can be a quicker cat. There can be someone else that gets there first towards the prize. And I think that's the problem, is we've seen too much of sitting back and too much of like letting things slip through. This is a map where you have equal chances on your attacks and your defenses. This is not like any of the others that we've had so far, where they are traditionally defend awaited or defend decided. There is so much opportunity for them on every single round of this map. If any of them are too slow, if any of them don't take that pace, they're going to get there and there's not going to be any kibble left.
So the big question is, who is the big chungus of this matchup? Are they MercenarieZ Union Gaming? Oh Lord, he coming, as they say nowadays, is what the Gen Zers say, I guess, in these times. But I'm kind of wondering how to deal with this. Union Gaming, a lot on their minds. They have to bring themselves back into this. Hap, your experience as a competitive player, of course, is very important in this. How do you refresh yourself, dig yourself out of that hole? What operators do you ban? What strategies do you try to employ on Oregon, which is still similar to the olden one?
I think you just gotta do what feels natural here now. Try and stay in your own game. Don't go too far away. Like don't try and play too much into their game, but maybe keep it more close to heart. Keep it in your own in your own alley, what you feel comfortable with.
What is
you're starting to adapt?
What is the comfort zone then for Union in this? From your experience of watching
that's
this
the
so
question. It's a new map, of course. It's Oregon, so I'm not sure what they would like to do. If they want to go for these crazy roams every round, which work on some maps but not on the others, or if they're going to be turtling in, which could also be dangerous because you give a lot of time, you give a lot of space to the attackers to work with. So there's a lot on the different ways that you could be approaching this one.
It's a map of reactions. It's a map of whether you're on your attack or defense. You know, if you're looking at how the map is actually structured, it can be in a way 2 sections. You can obviously have your blue side, your main tower side, and then you've already got the dorm side as well. If you're roaming dorms and they push in bunker, you have to have the reactions. You have to be able to pull back via freezer. It's that.
Everybody's been having a lot of problems pushing through bunker, dealing with elbow, blue, etc., whatever you may call the entire area. That hallway is a hallway of death. I see a lot of teams still making those mistakes. Still goes for South Asia in any region, really. But these 2 teams might also fall into that trap today.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult, right? Because the teams are still developing to some extent. It's not like they are set in stone. It's not like the players have hit their skill caps, and neither does the team. So there is a lot of potential development still left, and sometimes that goes with a bit of a drop in performance here and there. You just got to make sure that you stay consistent right now, and that you take into this map what you managed to take into those 2 maps that both these teams won. That is how you're going to be able to play the best Siege did, because clearly something worked out on those 2 maps that didn't work out on the other 2, given the score lines are 7-3, 7-4 is quite the difference still. So it is really just a mental game, I think, that's going to be coming down right now. Who has the best fortitude, who's going to be able to stick to their game style the longest and not suffer from fatigue.
I wonder if Jittery is going to wake up again for this map, because at least the way I've been seeing it is whenever Jittery is not so jittery, he hits his shots and the map is won for Union. Who has to step up in this game for both of these teams to really show up? Is I'd like to remind everybody, Union winning this next map means they win the game, means they make it to SI 2021. Simple as that. Biggest stage of them all.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of weight that is playing on Union. And when Union started today, when they hit that first map, what the importance of today is. They know what the importance of the game is, because it's not just playing for teams are doing, they're playing for the chance at being the first team from their region ever to be on the grandest stage, the first opportunity, and they've taken it. It wasn't a guaranteed spot. It's been a bit of a tumultuous year, but at the same time, there was possibility there. Then things started to get a little bit shaky. Mercenaries weren't stepping back. They stepped up. This is now, it's not just the chance at a win. If they stumble and fall over the line, sure, they'll get a route to SI, but they have to take it. They cannot just have this be another victory. It has to be an assertive one. It has to be one that says, yeah, we are the team coming from South APAC. We're the first team to come from this region, and we're going to make sure that we're a team that is worthy of the spot, the praise, and will be reminded.
It's not these 2 teams just that are watching it for an SI spot, especially Union, who can make it, but so are MIBR and Astral, because if Union wins, they qualify. Congratulations. However, Astral would be knocked out. They would be locked out. There would be no opportunity for them anymore to make it to SI. However, if Union loses, then MIBR is going to be stepping up here today as a new, basically someone with a new spot into the 6th Invitational that they otherwise might not have gotten. So there's a lot on the line right here with many different teams, both of them being in that legend.
I'd like to remind everybody that SI 2021 is going to have a total of 20 teams. So one of them coming from South Asia would be not only a world first in terms of the world of Rainbow Six, but a huge one for the region. I know some people are going to go out, and I check Twitter every now and then. It's not because I'm not posting everywhere or not streaming all the time. It doesn't mean that I don't keep up with the happenings. But one team out of 20 actually qualifying and being represented from a region that has never been represented before is not going to kill your careers for some of the players that might be complaining about it. Trust me, you might be looking at some other things in your own play and team before you take jabs at others performing in their own even sub-region at this point. So yeah, pressure is up for Union or on Union to try to qualify for SI. I'm sorry we have some delays. Thank you so much for keeping up with us, as one of the players is Sparko in this case, is just trying to restart his machinery to make sure that everything works and is able to join the lobby. That's why we've been having the delays. Trust me, we usually blame it on Hap, as we always do, but right now
This time it's
not Hap. It's not the casters that are not clicking. I'm sure Gio's sitting there and just waiting to press start, but it's not that this time. It's just player.
I think James is still on the toilet break, singing out that he needs to pee.
He's been singing that for the past 2 days, right? Pretty sure he's spending Baird. I think he posted a video every now and then on the Discord. That's usually how it works out. So actually, I want to take the time to explore things beyond where we are today. Since we kind of exhausted the talking points, yeah, we can dig into deep details, but without giving people at home the visual of how things would turn out on the map and in certain locations, it makes it difficult to imagine. So I want to talk about some of the changes that are coming to the game, with faster reinforcements and with Habana changing the way that she functions, or at least her gadget, because attacking down into basement, dealing with elbow, dealing with blue, the entire bunker area. There's got to be more options of that if you count the Habana and faster reinforcements. I want to hear your thoughts on those sorts of things as we kind of build up Oregon in the future.
I mean, Habana...
Podcast, let's go.
What?
Podcast.
It's a podcast. Let's go.
Podcast now. Yeah.
I'm frozen.
Podcast, yeah.
Podcast.
And there we go.
Haven't you been DM'd by someone that can help with hotcasts?
Right. I mean, not really. I'm not allowed to speak for prolonged periods of time out of fear of what stupid things I will say. We're looking at Habana becoming, for a lot of teams, probably a ban, and a constant ban, because she's going to be so useful. It's not just that she's going to be able to open up and get herself into these kind of physical positions of taking care of multiple angles and options or whatever. It's that she can also burn utilities. She can burn discs or burn kind of ADSs, and she can do it in situations where the versatility that can be applied from her as a single operator in what is currently, and you can only apply the perspectives to our current meta because we don't know what pros are working under the scenes until we see it. Compared to our current meta, if she existed now, she would break all of those kind of weights of holds of angles, because she doesn't have to burn flashes. She can just pop off a couple of those, and then she frees up those operators that you're otherwise bringing for flashes to have other options, to bring other suggestions, other bits. It's not just what she can do, but it's also what reliances she removes from the pockets of the other operators that you've otherwise got to bring.
I remember the day where the X-Kairos would actually be picked up by the ADSs, where
you would burn all three
what
ADSs.
They would do is just shoot one pellet, and all three were gone, and they removed that back then. But now some sort of it, with the versatility, extra versatility added between opting to go 2, 4, or 6 X-Kairos pellets, is going to be turning it back a little bit, especially with the Renegades at some point coming in. Of course, they are not going to be in competitive play straight away due to the quarantine period that they have. But it is definitely going to be allowing Hibana to, basically open up every single hatch that she wants to, because you only need 4 of those pellets. Normally, there's only 2 impact tricks. You start off with shooting 2 pellets, the impact trick that, you do another 2. And then you still have, how many left? I think 14 left. So there's, enough to open up all 3 hatches, for example, on Clubhouse.
A lot to work with in the future. Personally, I think we were all super happy when we saw the change with the reinforcement pool. That was something that I know Hellbeam was probably watching somewhere, somehow, and is thinking, reinforcement pools means I can reinforce 7 to 8 walls every single round as an individual player, and I can definitely respect that point of view. So, very able. The next part is making reinforcing faster. So this is why specifically I wanted to mention this about Oregon. You can do pop in, pop out reinforcements very quickly. If you're dealing with laundry defense and you want to extend into bunker, you want to fall back, you use shields, you don't have to worry about really putting things up at the last second. It affords you a bit of extra time. So I find it quite interesting. Though we still need a bit more time, by the way. That's why we're having this more of a podcasting. Yeah.
You know, you said that we couldn't draw, right? About the map of Oregon, but I might have found a way how I can use the map of Oregon as my cam so we can draw over it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure if you want it to have like an
you sound
explanation
crazy.
there.
Show me.
I need some time. I need some time to set it up. Just give me a little bit of time.
All right.
I need to find a basement first.
Okay, that is a conversation piece, but Sparkle is restarting his router. I know MIBR fans in chat are sweating bullets right now because, as Hap was saying, should UG, Union Gaming, lose their game now, it just means they don't qualify for SI, and that means MIBR from
Prediction,
Brazil
I'm sorry for this.
will make,
Whoa.
I have to do this temporarily.
He's very zoomed in.
Oh, there we go. We got it. There we go. We got the basement of Oregon.
Okay.
Do I need to flip it?
Very small.
You know, Jesse Chick, if you're watching right
There we
now,
go.
this is what we work with here in EU. Hap, go ahead. Explain.
All right. So, what do we want to talk about? Because there's some stuff to talk. Is this Old Oregon? I think this is Old Oregon.
Yeah, it is. It is. You messed it up. So Jesse,
need some more time. I'll be right back.
if you're watching, we're very sorry. We're fools to have ever questioned North America. And
No. Hold up. I got it already.
Ha! I told you we were
Almost.
better.
We're so talented.
Never doubted Hap.
I'm
need
doing
to-
nothing, but we're so talented.
I mean, look,
All right.
we're
okay.
providing.
Going back to number 2. There we have it.
there
okay,
you go.
we're in our beautiful
We're back.
MS Paint, which you can see. So, what do you want to talk about so we can analyze it, Milos?
I just want to say somebody paid a lot of money for us to have a telestrator at the studio. They're very much regretting that
needs
decision right now. Yeah, honestly.
You've got
sorry, Nelson. Sorry, Rashid. But you know what? I want to
got
talk
paint.
about. We got paint. Actually, perfect timing, Hap, as we're not gonna need that.
Not necessary?
No.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our love is already Steinhappers. We can talk
Tried
about
so hard.
in the end, it doesn't even matter. You can use it later on at the end of the show, maybe to kind of recap some of the strategies, though it is time for us to toss it down as our production is calling for it right now. Hap, Fluke, thank you so much. Union Gaming at the cusp of victory. They have messed it up, but maybe they can recover in Oregon and then make it to SI 2021. MIBR fans are sweating bullets right now. Maybe, if MercenarieZ win, MIBR can make it through to SI. All that and so much more on the line in this one map. Oregon, let's kick it off. Geo, Dev, all yours.
Thank you so much, Milos. Yeah, Dev, this is what it all comes down to. I don't think any of us expected that this series was going to be going to a Game 5, and now Union Gaming may be about to lose their SI spot, and MercenarieZ become the next champions of South Asia.
And Milos said MIBR fans going to be sweating. Union Gaming fans going to be sweating right now. And the MercenarieZ fans. I've already seen a bit of activity online. One thing that we can say for South Asia, this is a win-win for the region. Either MercenarieZ upsets and takes down the long-standing giants that is Union Gaming, or we get Union Gaming as the first South Asian team to SI, to any global event ever. And it all comes down to Oregon. Geo, if you want to see an SA team go to SI, well, I'd be scared right now because Oregon is a good map for MercenarieZ. They are nearly undefeated, but guess what that nearly comes from? This one time that they lost it to Union Gaming in the August Major.
Oof, but you are right. They were the thorn in their side. However, 2 of the times since then that they have won it have also been against Union Gaming. So you can turn around and say, yeah, MercenarieZ lost this map to Union, but they've also beaten them on it more times. Double as many times, in fact, if you want to take it from that perspective. And so I don't think Union Gaming have any reason to be overconfident, let alone cocky, about this map. This is one that they knuckle down, they take seriously, because everything is riding on it.
Operator Vito coming in hard and fast here. Pretty standard stuff for MercenarieZ. Mira is their most banned, and Thatcher, which being their most banned, was already banned by Union, so they go for their second most banned Nomad. That's going to enable some flanks We've seen the Goyo ban creep in and out for Union, and it does end up creeping back in here after they banned it. I believe it was on Clubhouse earlier today. And what's funny is we actually did see a bit of the Goyo picked from MercenarieZ last map on Cafe, 3 out of the 6 defense rounds. But I wouldn't point to it as a decisive factor, and I definitely wouldn't point to it on Theme Park as a decisive impact, the ban from Union. So I don't know how impactful that's going to be, especially when you've got other operators that can bring shields. You've got your Smoke, your Ella even, and of course the Valkyrie and the Wamai still on the table.
Well, Laundry and Supply is going to be the first site, and as we mentioned before, Union Gaming are starting on defense. This was not a side that worked out in their favor so much on Clubhouse, nor was it on
Hatch open.
Cafe, nor was it on Consulate, if I remember correctly. Let me have a look. When Union were defending, no, they only took 2 rounds on the defense. So, to be starting on defense on Oregon, while in many places in the world you would think, oh, hell yeah, I landed the jackpot, for Union Gaming, I am not so sure. And this is an interesting kind of strategy that they seem to be going for here as they place the castle barricades, potentially preparing for an extended roam. That could be something that we see Sandy, for example, leaning into, or maybe just Sparko. But again, they have also brought the Clash, someone that we do see being utilized a decent amount, I would say, on this site. And that kind of suggests why Doctor went into the 6th pick onto the Zephyr.
Bit of a mixed strategy here for Union. Quite an extended roam, as you've said, but they still have quite a few anchors. They're not overcommitting. Sandy's actually on a loose roam upstairs. Droned out twice now. He needs to be careful not to lose his life early. He shot 2 drones. He's done his job. If he can drop down one of these hatches, that'd be a win for him. And indeed, he just wants to shoot 1 more drone. Before that happens, he might get it. This is a big risk. He's actually committing to take the fight. Retakes Master. The hatch in Attic is actually also already catered, so we're going to have to make a rotate into Big Tower, shoots another drone. Now this is where it gets dangerous for Sandy, but also for MercenarieZ. They need to make sure to punish these roamers so that they can start focusing on the objective.
Oh, and there we go, straight away punished. He was hoping to sneak down and flank around behind some of these players of MercenarieZ, but they knew to expect him and they were ready and waiting. And EX7 has jumped back down into the site. Now again, that is that hatch that is open over E-Box. Not one that you typically see. MercenarieZ going to throw in the nade. That should at the very least get rid of the Banshee and any of the other utility that may be down there. The Union Gaming still have this roam.
Yeah, it looks like Sparko has actually managed to dodge a lot of those drones. It's one of the things that a lot of these teams have struggled with. Is the drone game, losing them early, and look at that, only 1 remaining on MercenarieZ side. Sparko, man, he could decide the round well and truly, even from a numbers advantage. Peeking from the hatch, checking for drones. Doesn't see a player. It's really tough to get angles down here, so he has to commit to the stairs. Maker starts to make his move. Sparko gets a flank, finds 1. He needs to find the 2nd kill, finishes off the Zephyr as he tries to withstand, but he's enough of a distraction to let the Clash get in. Now it's all on Sparko, as the rest of MercenarieZ have absolutely collapsed. Plant not going down, but Fatah doesn't need that. He's got the AK, and MercenarieZ completely dismantle and bypass this roam.
Picked apart throughout the course of that round as their roam did not necessarily pay off. Not really a strategy that we're used to seeing in other parts of the world, including just APAC North, not very far away from their southern neighbors. And whether Union decide to lean into such a strategy when they eventually come back to that site is something that remains to be seen. But for now, they've decided to move away. They're going to head all the way upstairs and go to kids and dorms. And this looks like it could maybe be a bit more standard. We're not seeing something like a Maestro, which is very common to see on this site. But nonetheless, you do still have the potential for example, an impact trick from Sandy. if he were to be playing in games, for example. Not necessarily where you always see a Malusi, but there's still that potential. Shields coming out, you've got Sparko on the mute who can play with a C4 down below. So it fits a little bit more into the orthodoxy that we're used to seeing, but how Union Gaming end up using it is where the question marks are.
No doubt. It's pretty scary when you've gone up from a 2-1 lead. You won the first map and then proceeded to trade maps there onward. And you're on to the final map. You're on defense and you lose that opening round. Then be absolutely smothered off of your bomb site. Union, no doubt, feeling the pressure at the moment. The pressure is, no doubt, ever present and honestly enormous for Union. They lose this map, no 6 Invitational.
Really, really scary prospect. Mercenaries know that they don't have that kind of pressure on their shoulders. Yes, there's the pressure to become the champions of their region, and that's something that they're really reaching towards. But there isn't something higher than that they could potentially lose. That doesn't mean they won't try, of course, but I think it puts them in a situation where they are less inclined to be lost to their own mentality. And that's going to be the
100%.
real big fight that happens here on Oregon.
100%. I think it was Specker on our OS interview yesterday said, in his opinion, Siege is 90% a mental game. That's what matters. And that's a battle that will be waged between these teams. And I think that MercenarieZ is winning that fight right now. Doctor peeking in from Trophy onto the bomb site, clearing these angles. Slicing the pie, as we like to say. But he can't scan. Oh, there you go. Finally gets it. Bit of site info. Just happened to be that Sandy was a dead man walking, and man, the collapse comes through. Union Gaming are falling apart.
A bomb has been located.
It's just continuing on at this point. Beat is desperately waiting for a drone to come on through, something he can shoot, some way of denying information to mercenaries who just seem to be consistently picking apart his team. But so far he's seen nothing. EX7 as well, being relatively untouched in the attic. They're just looking for something. Sparko's going to push up. He finds MI7. That's at least something for Union Gaming. And as the smokes come out, that says to him that things are trying to be denied. Mercenaries are trying to push on up. EX7 preparing himself. He throws out the magnet. If anything, that's going to give away his location if it wasn't already known. And he's going to try and hold on to the breach because there's no one in games to do it. But look at that. So much health lost in the process. Sparko gets another kill. That's straight onto Hasib and evens it out into a 3 versus 3. But with Sparko going down, Fatar can try and put down the diffuser. This denial will be so much hard with the crossfire being held. And it looks like mercenaries have this all but in their pockets. Beat just trying to hold on to the one angle he can, but in a 1 versus 3 it's virtually impossible, and mercenaries take round number 2.
And in classic mercenaries fashion, a very, very strong attack, perfectly in sync on that execute. And in classic mercenaries fashion, executing early in the round rather than waiting until the last 10-15 seconds. It was 40 seconds left, and mercenaries, they just pushed on in, started that plant. But a lot of this execute prowess that we see from mercenaries, I want to put on Fatar, the support player. I think so typically people think of support players as the guys who carry that diffuser. They breach the wall, they maybe throw some util, and then they just go in and plant. But no, Fatar goes in, fakes the plant, and then watches, because he knows that's when he's going to get peaked. Instead of relying exclusively on his teammates to cover, he's always there. We saw this so much. I remember, if you stretch your mind back all the way to Consulate, it was just a classic thing. How many times did Fatar enter Garage and then like find one pick and then start planting? And it's what we saw just then, covering the top of White Stairs, and Sparko felt from that point forward, it was just so well set up, and Mercenary as well. Everything functioned like clockwork.
I mean, that's the thing with Fatar as well, is that despite the fact he's been on this roster for a decent amount of time, he didn't play in the August Major. So his prowess wasn't available in that best of 5 grand final, that we saw back then. So this, while it's been something that Union Gaming have become used to and accustomed to, they know him as a player because they played against him in the South Asian Nationals, for example, still in the context of a major grand final, this is the first time that they've come across him in that fashion. And he's doing so much for his team. And knowing that is going to be an incredible point of frustration for Union Gaming. But they managed to open things up with that opening kill. That's something they really needed to get their claws in and is a good start for them. I also wanted to note that I like the change they made, putting the Maestro on. They were teasing the castle before they 6-picked. And I'm hoping that can also add to a positive change for them.
Something else that Union needs is for some of these big players to step up. Cast your mind back to Theme Park, where we saw Jittery go 16-6, absolute monster. EX7 also had some fantastic rounds, a 4K as well, a Naya ace on Cafe, particularly on the attack. Both of those players really do step up, but on the defense, we haven't seen quite so much. And guess what? Up until this round, both Jittery and EX7 actually had 0 frags on the board this map across both rounds. We certainly need to see MercenarieZ stopped here if Union are to contest forward. Good impact trick from Sparko. The second impact will deny that final Selma, and well, that's almost all the hard breach that there is for MercenarieZ. Yeah, maybe you can rotate Hasib to finish the job, but that's pretty difficult to pull off. That's a great job from Sparko. As you mentioned, the adaptation bringing the Maestro and his impacts along with it, it worked so well.
Beat takes a beating, losing a decent chunk of damage. Jittery is still present upstairs, but he is distracted by the sound cue that he hears from afar. That's going to push his rotation in a different direction. You can see also that Hasib is droning out in security and now up the stairs as well before the drone got shot. And Jittery's had his opportunity to rotate around and try and catch out this player from behind, but he fails. Hasib winning that one out, and he can try and look up and get the vertical angle, but before Union Gaming could try and bring him down, the crossfire was established, and MercenarieZ continue on forward now with the man advantage, and they can start moving upstairs. Beat's just preparing a Toxic Bait canister, knowing that those players are there. EX7 taken straight out, and once again, the swathe of kills coming from MercenarieZ seems to be too overwhelming for Union Gaming. Sparko has just 1 HP, he could barely do anything. And a third round for MercenarieZ makes the dream of SI look further away.
MercenarieZ are tearing through Union on their attack. And they seem unstoppable. Gio, that's 6 attack rounds for MercenarieZ in a row. Casting our minds back to Cafe, where they really turned it up in their attacking half. My God, what is in store for us? And what is in store for Union, who are just slowly but surely seeing their hopes of Six Invitational fade before their eyes. And let's not forget as well that while we're talking about Union a lot and their hopes of making SI, this means a lot to our friends over at MercenarieZ. This has been a long time coming. They have had such amazing performances domestically throughout the Nationals, both Stage 1 and Stage 2, but they couldn't crack it against Union in the August Major, and that was an immense disappointment. But this roster admitted they'd only been together for a few months, and they admitted that Union Gaming outplayed them every single round. They weren't ready for it. But since then, MercenarieZ, well, they're fully prepared. They had confidence that this is the lineup they want to take into the future, and they're ready to topple this dominance, this dynasty that Union has established for themselves over a period of time within South Asia. And if that means denying South Asia from being at Six Invitational, so be it. MercenarieZ has their eye on being the best in the region.
They're certainly succeeding at it so far. We talk about, I think it was Hap who was talking about it, how a best of 5 can bring an element of exhaustion and tiredness, and how much does your enemy